You're watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Here's your host, Don Ansell.
Wilmington Police Chief Ralph Evangelous, Wilmington City Councilman Kevin O'Grady, our guest this morning. We're talking about downtown Wilmington and some nightlife issues that have been around for quite a while, actually. So, Chief, what about infrastructure issues? Like, I mean, if you arrest more people, there's holding cells, there's getting them to where they have to be processed, there's people to process large numbers. That's not in effect now. I mean, you couldn't handle, not you,
No.
but the system couldn't handle that, could they?
Not at this point, but I mean, if we plan an operation, I mean, we could temporarily be able to staff up for something on a temporary basis. Wouldn't be a regular basis, but right now what we're doing on weekends is, you know, we have our prisoner transport vehicle called the Paddy Wagon downtown now. What I've instructed our people to do is, if we make an arrest, put them in the Paddy Wagon and let's wait till bar closings finish, and then we'll process them out.
How many does that hold, that Paddy Wagon?
We could put 8 or 10 in there if we had to. And then we bring them back to the police station. We now have a magistrate at night at the police station. We can get them arraigned there, and if they have to be booked at the county jail. The problem with that is 95% of the time they have to be seen by a doctor if they're claiming any sort of injury or sickness, which means it takes us hours.
You got to take them over to the emergency room?
Hours.
And sit with them.
Yes. I mean,
and that's one person, one officer, or two?
Sometimes 2 officers, depending on how rowdy they are.
And that takes them
out
off
of service for hours. And so that is probably the biggest piece when we try to process prisoners, is the time it takes us to get them through the medical.
Do you think that deters officers from arresting people that aren't that unruly?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But especially if we're short-staffed in the evening, we won't. We'll give them a ticket. We'll give them a citation.
For
whatever the charge is.
So there are, okay.
So we can still charge.
I see.
But the problem is, you're not moving the problem out of the area.
It's not solving the issue right then and there.
That's right. And it doesn't have the impact of a physical arrest does.
It's always going to be a discretionary issue there. They've got to
who
decide when to arrest and when not to, and you got to rely on the police to do that.
But you don't have a zero tolerance. You can't.
We instruct our people, anyone who's fighting, and we have observed it, we are to arrest them.
Can you arrest them before they fight, but as they're arguing?
If they're drunk and disruptive.
If you call that a disruptive, that could be.
Disruptive, or if there's threats, or I mean, there are angles to that. But again, if there's 30, 40 people in a group and there's 2 officers there, guess what? We're probably going to sit back and wait for a while till we get some more people.
Do they call for assistance?
Oh, yes.
When there's a big
but
group?
it takes time to move resources there.
Right, right.
So there's 2 prongs to this. One is trying to get the bars to more closely follow ABC rules, so we don't get so many drunk people on the street. And then how do we handle them for those who don't follow the rules? You're always going to have to deal with both ends of that.
It's sort of a socialization process, because kids, I call kids younger people, are now socialized to go downtown. To party.
Which is great.
We're
happy to have them. But there's a point where they're kind of out of bounds.
Can you socially manage that? Do you think that could be managed?
Yeah,
I
think it can be. I think with close, you need bar owners to be more conscientious of their serving practices. And as the chief says, we have a lot of very good operators downtown. Sometimes some aren't. And I think the density and the capacity means that some people are willing, in order to keep their bars filled, they're willing to overserve.
I've been at meetings, and I understand from a bar owner's perspective, you can't tell if someone's had too much to drink when somebody walks up and says, "I'd like a beer." I mean, what do? You got a bar full of 300, 200 people, and every person that orders, you say, "Okay, I want you to walk." I mean, it's not practical. How do you tell if somebody's had too much to drink? How can a bar owner control that? I don't see how that's practical.
Some of the people that are coming out are so beyond the limit that it's pretty
clear. Don't you think they don't serve those people?
Well,
if they're sloppy and falling over, you think they'll give them another drink?
And yet we have them coming out. Last Halloween, they were carrying them out.
Some of these bar owners, a handful, believe that if we get them onto the sidewalk, it's not our problem anymore. And I say it's always your problem. If they're in your establishment and they're that inebriated, then call them a cab, call someone come get them, but don't throw them out onto the sidewalk. And that's what has been happening to some of our
Just
folks.
get them out of the premises.
That makes it then our problem.
There is somewhat of an attitude that if it's on the street, it's the police's problem now. And my contention is the problem starts inside the bar. We need better conduct, service conduct in there. And we're going to get that. Last summer we had an ALE sweep and conditions were better when we had 20 ALE officers sweeping down.
You mean the bar owners demanded more?
They were concerned that they were going to get, and that's part of the reasoning behind, okay, now we need our police officers to be able to do that. So at any night, any time, they can be checked, and therefore we'll get closer following of the rules.
We're almost out of time, but I want to make the point that these issues happen between about 11 and midnight and 4 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
But it casts a long shadow over all of downtown, which is vibrant and very safe.
And is
most of the other time.
Sure, and it's going the right way. I mean, we get huge family crowds down there for people who realize it's not a daytime problem. It's not an early evening problem.
No.
You can go down and have a great dinner and a show.
But
it's a late night
but it casts a shadow.
Of course
over
it does. It's an image.
And how worried is the city about all this focus on these problems downtown and how it might impact the success of the new $60 million convention center?
Well, it was part of the impetus of doing the nightlife task force in the first place. First thing I said to the people on the task force is, we got 18 months till this thing opens. We better be ready. And so you talk about not addressing the problems. If you look back over the last 18 months, we've been addressing the problems because we want the city to improve. And it's not just for the convention center, it's for everybody. But certainly, it also impacts the convention center.
So, from each of your perspectives, where are we now, Chief?
Well, I think we've had a big reduction in crime downtown and citywide this past year. It was unfortunate we had this murder that occurred, but there's some positive coming out of this murder. One is we got this bar closed, which has been a thorn in our side. Okay, and some other bar owners have got their attention. We've got their attention, and we see things improving.
Things are, but we're going the right way. We're addressing the problems. We're changing the rules. We're up in Raleigh, changing the rules up there. We have some legislation now that's proposed. Representative Hamilton is going to advance to try to give us some of this additional power that we think we need. And we have other cities that are on our side with this because I've made contact with them.
Thanks for both of you for joining us. Next week, New Hanover County Commissioner Ted Davis talks about his triple heart bypass surgery, and the surgeon that saved his life will also be joining us. Don't miss it. I'm Don Ansell for Byline Wilmington. Have a great week.
You've been watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Join us every Sunday morning as we explore the issues that concern you.